welcome to my podcast, Meditate with Tsamara. Today, I am so excited, really excited to be honest, because I feel that today will be a more meaningful conversation intentionally compared to my previous podcast episodes. Because today I'm going to learn about the art of having meaningful conversations. So I will definitely learn a lot from Wilanisa, and I'm saying your name correctly, right? I thought you said.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I am here with Wilanisa. I am so excited to talk more about how to spark meaningful conversations with her. So, welcoming to Meditate with Samara podcast. Hi, Wina.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me. Such an honor to exchange this meaningful conversation with you.
Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being here. Wina, can you share a little bit more about yourself? I'm very curious to get to know you better.
Sure, sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Wina. I'm Indonesian. I'm currently based in Bali, but Jakarta is my home. Professionally, if you ask me, I work as a communication specialist, but I'm also passionate about, women issues, gender empowerment, and I try to kind of contribute back through mentoring through a platform called Woman Works. But personally, honestly, I'm trying to just be a better version of myself these days, try new things, discovering new things about myself. And that includes the Well, I Wonder conversation card, which I believe we'll talk about today. And me and Tsamara actually met at a meditation yoga session for one of our friends' bachelorette party. And I thought that was a very grounding and centering session. So it's great to reconnect with you here again.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing more about you. And I remember that event very clearly because that was my first offline event during the pandemic. And you were so warm and welcoming, and we got to chat quite a bit when we were doing that session together. So thank you for already, radiating that openness and kindness to people around you, including me. Yes. So I am curious. So on this podcast, I really encourage and I really want to understand ways we can improve our quality of life. And is there anything that you would like to share regarding that? Maybe about the meaningful conversation. How has it improved your quality of life?
Cool. That's an interesting question. One of the things I guess that I discovered, right? To answer that question, the one answer is mindfulness. Now, unfortunately, having discovered mindfulness, I had to go through, a few unfortunate kind of personal thing that happened to me. And, pandemic also is upon us and is pushing us to reset the way we do things and pause and reflect, right? But I think mindfulness then stems to a lot of things, right? Mindfulness in terms of ourself, about being more present, having more meaningful kind of conversations, relationship and friendship, and most importantly is having a good intention into whatever it is that we want to do. And I believe that when you have that good intention, then we are really doing what is best for us and what we actually need. So I think that mindfulness, there's a lot under mindfulness, but I believe that it has significantly improved my life so far, and I'm still learning, and excited to see what's out there, to continue discovering about myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Wina, for sharing about mindfulness and your journey. I definitely resonate, and it has brought me to this practice of understanding myself. And what I'm curious about is how we can apply more mindfulness in our daily life, because mindfulness, it's now a jargon. We read it in books, it's everywhere. And how can you practice like mindfulness even at this moment?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mindfulness practice, and I'm still learning. I'm also learning from you in all the aspects, right? For me personally, there's a couple of things. I think meditation is one, journaling is another, trying new things and doing sports and activities is also a mindfulness practice as well, because some of those sports focuses you or pushes you to focus and be mindful in that present moment and not think about work or anything else. In the littlest thing that we do every day, we can apply mindfulness to, right? When we eat, we are really mindful. When we talk to people, and when we have these conversations, and of course my cards, the Well I Wonder conversation card helps me to also have meaningful conversations with others, and really be in that moment when we're together, whether it's eating, whether it's drinking, instead of playing on our phones, but we're really intentionally there and present with each other, and actually having deep conversations, and discovering more about each other.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I definitely resonate with the problem of being on our phones for a good period of time when we're meeting each other,
Yeah,
like with families or friends. And it's such a sad thing, at least for me, to know that there's this opportunity to, strengthen your connection, your bond, but we are disconnected in that sense.
right.
And when we
Yeah,
do connect, sometimes it's like small talk, right? Like, how are you? And like, yeah, good. So, yeah.
that's true. That's true. And I think it's hard, but it just takes practice, right? Because we're just so used to being on our phone, which is good because it connects us with people who are far away. It makes us closer to those who are far. But then there's always a double-edged sword to anything, right? And talking about small talks, I feel like these are necessary for us to break the conversation, to start conversing, to get to know people, and in a way kind of like filter whether we can kind of go beyond and actually have a deeper connection. But I think what we should watch out for is once we've known this person for a couple of times, and we've met them a few times, I wonder whether we can go beyond small talks, and really get to know them into something that otherwise we wouldn't know. Right.
I love that bridging of, we do have to have like some small talk to get to know each other in the beginning, but then we go beyond. And is there any certain experience where you can get to know someone maybe that you've known for a long time but deeper through the Well I Wonder cards?
Yeah, there has been many instances where I continuously surprised and in awe and inspired by these conversations. So I bring these cards everywhere with me, and in every occasion I would try to play them with different groups of people. And every single time, even though either we've played the same card questions, or whether we've played in the same group, there's always something new in every single section, or every single moments that we share, right? So for example, there are moments where people have shared something about them that they haven't shared to anyone ever. So that's an untold story that we're privileged to hear from this person because of these cards. There are people who are very introverted, and we think that they won't open up and share anything vulnerable about them, but they actually like playing these cards and actually ask to play some more, right? And then you just discover a new light about this other person from these stories, and in that process you learn to be more empathetic towards them. You maybe change your perception towards them, because I'm sure we all have our own kind of view about another person, because we just haven't gotten the chance to see what's beyond that, right? But then once we hear this story, we're like, there's just a lot of moments where I'm like, wow, so you were like this because this happened to you, or like, wow, you're brave into doing that. I did not know this happened to you, or you did this, or you experienced that. And then in the end, I think what's most important is we're all kind of the same in a way, right? We're all experiencing, we all have our own, I guess, challenges, demons, insecurities, and stories and fears. And when we kind of shed a light into these things, we become more kind of comfortable, and talking about them is one. And we feel that, oh, it's actually okay. It's not so bad, because everyone has their own version of these challenges, and we're all kind of in this together. So that's what I've discovered.
Oh wow, that is so deep, and I resonate with that because I have played your cards in 3 instances. First was with my family, my mom and my brother, and what's interesting is something I feel like the questions that came up is always the questions that we need to ask ourselves or another. So it's like synchronicity. I don't know how. It's just like, oh my god, I was talking about relationship, and it's like questions about that, and there was more about like family and parenting, and and childhood memories. And it was so nice to see it from my mom's and my brother's perspective, because, when we're at home, we don't really sit and have deep talk unless it's guided like with this. And then we were laughing and crying and just like, it was amazing. Thank
That's
you.
really
Yeah.
great to hear, and like thank you too for playing this as well. And I think playing this with your family, I feel, if especially if you're not close with your family and you don't really engage in these deep talks, and I know, in the Eastern culture, I feel like we don't really open up to our family sometimes, right? So I think it's really kind of brave and commendable that we're able to do this with family, because you're right, otherwise these answers or these conversations won't happen on the fly in the dinner table, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I love it when it became on a tangent of like talking about something deeply, like prompted by a card, and then it became a 1 hour conversation. I love
Correct.
that when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually the other discovery. I could totally relate with you when you said sometimes when we open the card, it's as if like we needed to ask that card or we needed to have that conversation. It's just very relevant, and you just don't know that it's what you actually need to do and discuss. And the other thing is, you're right, like sometimes just one card can get us talking for an hour, because we get deeper and deeper, and people can ask follow-up questions, and that's when the untold story just comes out.
Beautiful. I can't wait. Let's play this. Do you want to play this together?
Yeah,
sure. Okay. Wina, can you tell me more about the packaging, please? And the inspiration behind it and the process.
Yeah, sure. So this card has been a long time coming, and it took a while to make this happen. It started as a lunchtime conversation with just prompts and questions on my phone, and then a prototype. But eventually, with support with a lot of my friends, and you know who you are, we managed to kind of make this happen, where we kind of brainstorm what this could look like and the design. I had my friend to design it as well. But I think the inspiration and the levels, right? We have sunrise, sunset, and nightfall. The idea is that as you progress throughout the day and the night, the deeper the question goes.
Oh, makes sense. That actually does happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now shall we start with the daytime? Sunrise.
Sure.
Level 1, sunrise. Ooh. Pick a comfortable spot, bring a drink and snack of choice. Do you have a drink, a snack of choice?
I do. I have coffee and water. So I have my cold brew.
Oh my god. I also have coffee and water here. Aligned. Okay. We divide the card into 3 piles. I have it into 3 piles. And okay, let's start. Let us start. So I'm going to pick a card for you, Wina. Sorry, my video is not on. But
at random.
My energy and spirit is here.
It certainly is.
Okay, let me just show the card very briefly and turn it off again. My card is. So, Wina, the question coming up for you, I'm really curious, from the sunrise is, what's the most unexplainable thing that has ever happened to you?
Wow. Honestly, because I create these cards, sometimes it's always hard to also answer these questions myself. And this is one of those cards. Just because I create them, it's not like I remember them off by heart. So this one is a bit of a challenging one. This one doesn't come out often. But I think what's on my mind right now is, I can't pinpoint to a specific moment, but there has been a few instances where I think things are impossible, but then it just happens, or it worked out, or people are helping me anyway. So for example, one time, I was traveling and I didn't have a certain visa of some sorts, and I forgot that I needed to get the visa because of a transit. And then I tried to, work things out. And just when I'm about to give up, then somehow, someone helped me to kind of obtain that pass, and things just work out. That's one example. And then there's a few other examples where there's just a moment in the brink of like either giving up, or you're like, this is impossible, but things just work out and it happens. And a lot of those you can't really explain, where it's like, okay, what did I do? What happened? But in the end, I think when I'm reflecting back and as I'm talking now, it's like, the universe and the people around you, and God will continue to help and protect you. Maybe that's my answer.
That's so beautiful. But I know instances
Yeah.
like that. So thank you so much for sharing. I love that.
Yeah. Cool. All right, your turn, yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So getting it from the sunrise card at random. Let's see what comes out for you.
Ooh,
Okay. What do you always carry with you in your bag that is not a wallet or a phone?
ooh,
You
that's
can
a good
see it.
question. What do I always carry? Well, right now it's just a hand sanitizer. So and my vaccine cards. But a notebook
Hmm.
and a pen because I find myself to have a lot of ideas
Yeah.
here and there, and sometimes it's nicer to put it on a piece of paper. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
to-do list, sometimes it's just ideas that I can put out as a content, or sometimes it's just brain dumping because
Hmm.
I tend to have more overthinking and anxious thoughts. And if I have
Yeah.
like a place to just brain dump all these things, it allows me to have a clear space in my mind.
Yeah. I love that, and that's really helpful method to actually have an outlet to like put things out
Yeah.
into writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Oh.
second question then now for you. Sunset level 2. Okay. I'm showing the cards here to my phone.
Cool.
The sunset one and shuffling it for you, picking up the first card. So, the question here, what is a family tradition that you'll pass on to your family or children? Show the card.
Ah,
What would that be,
that's a
Wina?
really nice one. Oh, maybe I'll start by telling that, when you play this, when you play this, or if you're listening and watching this, sometimes these questions can be relative, where, okay, there are levels of like sunrise all the way to like nightfall, but it could be relative. Like there could be a question that's like deep, but then you make it subtle, or a question that is like normal, but you make it deep, right? And
Mm,
so, and it's a mix of questions, by the way. You will see that like it's going to be a question about relationships, family, yourself. So yeah, just a caveat there. So I love that this family question comes out. Tradition for me then would be a few things. So celebrating birthdays,
mm-hmm.
celebrating at midnight, and then having family dinners to celebrate birthdays. I realize how some people don't celebrate birthdays, right? And different families has different traditions. So I think that's one. The other thing would be kind of Hari Raya, making sure we spend time together, and visiting each other, eating food, and just having that togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing would be other celebrations throughout life that is quite monumental, right? So for example, graduations, making sure you're there for graduations, or making sure you're there during recitals, and kind of big moments that sometimes we forget that these are big moments, but just trying to be present as well. So if I were to look back at my childhood, I remember my mom coming to when I do dance classes or dance performances, right? And yes, we celebrate big things like birthday, New Year's, Hari Raya, and all that, but then there are also these moments in school and in sports that my parents are always there as well. So I want to pass that on as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I think my family actually also don't celebrate birthdays all too much. Like it's not a big thing. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting that,
yeah,
our life is meant to be celebrated. So
yeah,
yeah, so I
yeah.
love that perspective. Thank you for sharing.
No worries. Okay, your turn. I'll shuffle it here. Okay. Oh, this is interesting.
Okay.
What is your favorite part about being in a relationship?
Ooh, being in a relationship, I think the happiness amplifies when we're both aware. So I'm taking this as a romantic relationship.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So favorite part is there is a sense of growth because you
Mm,
learn about one another and you learn so much more about yourself in that relationship.
yeah.
And I feel there is no failed relationships. Like looking back, I've had a lot of
Ooh.
ex-boyfriends, but then, and I'm not in a relationship right now. And I feel that, a lot of people have could have grudges or could have stuff, and even those I've had my share of relationships but that didn't end well per se, but after quite some time I reached out as a healing process and say like, hey, look, I'm really sorry I did this. I did it from a place where I felt like insecure and was not loving, and I apologize for doing this, saying this, or not being there for this and that. And it's very healing, and whether the person forgives us or not, it's just for ourselves also to get like, okay, it's not my burden for me anymore. I can step out, and there's always something beautiful that happened through the relationship, because it's not all bad. We were together for a reason. So kind of long story short, I love the sense of awareness, the sense of growth and learning in a romantic relationship. That's the best part for me.
I love that. And it's I mean looking back, you're right, there's always something to be learned. It happened for a reason, you're together for a reason, and you grow from that relationship, even though it didn't ended up being what you want it to be. But you're right, like you learn something and you grow into a person that sometimes you don't even know that you can be, right?
Ooh, that's yes, girl. Yes, I love that. I wish I heard that and believed that in the moments when you just broke up, like that sad moments. And now it's easy to say, but like that tender moment. Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. So now your turn. Level 3, Nightfall.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So it says move to once you're ready to discover each other's untold story. So before I do the third one, is there any tip that we can do in this practice that you do? Is there any certain way you play it with the cards?
I mean, honestly, there's no like one tip to play it, except to just really have fun with it and with the right intention, right? And I basically bring this everywhere, and kind of bring it out when I feel like, okay, I think it's time to play it. So at dinner parties, usually it's always nice while we wait for our food to play it, or while we wait for dessert, or while we're drinking, right? And then during game nights as well, when we're at someone's house that you're just having pizza and soda, for example, it's always good to do it. We talked about this earlier as well, when we just met someone new, or we just met someone who we haven't met for a while, so we're reuniting with this person. It's always good to rediscover again, because what I noticed about this is, how many times have you met someone that you haven't met for a long time, and what you talk about is only about past memories or past I guess good times that you did back then, right? So we'd always be talking about, oh my God, do you remember this person? Are you still talking to them? Are you still keeping in touch? Remember the day when we did this, right? So I found me doing that a lot, and I'm like, I guess because one, we don't have any new memories, right? And I think we should be making new memories with this person, or we haven't really discovered something new about them, and I hope that these cards can help to have that conversation. And then of course, during birthdays, during farewells, I've used this in a few celebrations, and it ended up being a very heartfelt celebration for my friend's birthday. But anyway, overall, basically anytime or anywhere that you want to have a meaningful conversation and to basically elevate your connections with others.
Oh, wow. Okay. I am now, okay. So moving forward, this is the one other thing that will always be in my bag. Well, I wonder cards. Your Well, I wonder cards. In addition. Yeah. Oh, amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and the intention.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to shuffle now in the camera on my phone. And let's pick the top card for you. Ooh. The card for you asks you, what are you fearful of?
Oh gosh.
Okay. So
Yeah, this is interesting. And this can go both ways, or a few ways, right? People can say literally what they're scared of, like, animals, death and all that, but also something very sentimental. I think that's what I noticed about this card. I think for me, honestly, there are moments where I still feel insecure about what other people think about me. And I think that's where my perfectionist tendencies come in. So what I realized as well. So, I try to kind of be composed, make sure things are perfect, make sure that I don't disappoint anyone. And honestly, that's because I care about what other people think, and I'm scared if I'm not perfect, then they won't accept me, right? So there's that tendency, and I realized that manifested in a few things, and a lot of things, whether it's professionally or personally. And actually, fun fact, this also affects the fact that I used to be quite reserved and not this vulnerable, not as vulnerable as now. Like, it's surprising because these cards are actually revealing a lot about yourself, right? That it will tell you stories that you would have not told before. So in a way, I still am a bit reserved, and I guess not really sharing my feelings and thoughts. But over time, I learned to share them, and then I learned to kind of be okay with sharing my raw feelings to the people around me. So it's a progress, and it's a process as well, to discover that about yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Wina, for sharing and being courageous and honest, and as you are. I feel what you share resonates a lot to me personally, and it's really valid. It's something that creeps up, that feeling that, at least for me, not speaking for you, but for me, it's like, what if I do this, people won't love me or accept me for who I am. And it takes some level of deconditioning and thinking through, and yeah, so thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate knowing that about you.
No worries. And I'm glad you can relate to it as well. And I wonder how you kind of overcome it, or whether there's any daily practice that you do to kind of deconstruct it, as you said.
Yes. So for me, I try to realize when there is these negative self-talk or inner critique coming up. With the practice of meditation and mindfulness and journaling, I just note down how the tone and what I say about myself. And usually there's a lot of fear coming up, like, if I don't do this person won't like me. I think in the Indonesian culture, or probably not all Indonesian, but I'm Japanese, so there's like this ga enakan culture, like feel bad, and like we need to not have any conflict, make everyone happy, and if I don't do or express myself or speak my truth, then it may create some conflict, thus it creates other people unhappy. So recognizing that and just like zooming out and say, hey, wait, maybe this is the fear talking. And then what I do daily is I try to see from the eyes of love, or I see from so if I am who I am, if I'm honest for who I am, I know that people will love me for who I am, rather than they love me for this projected version of me just to make everyone happy. And in the end, it's not worth it to project everything, because it's so stressful to kind of keep up with like facade. And so I think in a daily practice, it's journaling the thoughts and catching if there is any negative thoughts.
I think
you were saying.
No, that's really nice, and I love that. And it's a good reminder to always do things out of love and not out of fear. And you're right, like, you need to kind of point yourself out, like you need to kind of call yourself out. I meant just say, hey, snap out of it.
It's a practice though, like, so
it is, it
lifelong.
takes time. Cool. Awesome. All right, your turn for the Nightfall cards.
Exciting.
Ooh, okay. What is your most toxic trait you can admit to?
Ooh, most toxic trait. Okay. I can admit, I think I can be quite needy and jealousy. I think that's quite toxic. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
tell me more about that.
So in my past relationships, I found myself to be insecure. and I actually met a psychologist like in Spain, a mindful psychologist based in Spain about how serious I am about getting rid of this, or like
Mm.
overcoming it.
Yeah.
But I was deeply insecure with myself, with
Mm.
the friends of the guys, especially
Mm.
like really close girlfriends, and
Yeah.
especially like my latest ex. It's okay for me to say this. He is not Indonesian, and like I think in the
Mm.
more Western culture,
Yeah.
I think you're closer to all types of friends, more than when you are in an Indonesian culture. I don't know how to say
Yeah.
this example. I guess you can just be more intimate.
Yep,
Uh,
yep. No, totally get it. I mean, I can relate a lot to this, and I have seen, in terms of kind of Western and Eastern cultures and how they're different and how they interact. But yes, go on.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think there's a little bit of shock on my side because I feel like, oh, for an Indonesian couple, you don't usually do this, like this
Mm.
kind of hanging out, or in a way like sleeping over, but like it's platonic. Like, okay, of course, sure, it's platonic, but still,
Yeah.
does she really have to sleep over? Like,
Right.
can she sleep?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're like, yeah, but we're friends. We don't do anything. But and things like this, it was hard
Mm.
to grasp from like my background, and I'm seeing it
Mm.
from my fear. There's no love, I think, in that moment. So I think the
Mm.
toxic is, um I get jealous, and then I
Mm.
start seeing from the eyes of jealousy, and I'm like, okay, it's actually a lot of conflict that is then fear created, or the thought created, rather than it actually is. So I'm not seeing things as it is, not mindfully, seeing it as a
Mm.
projection of fear. And I've worked through it. Hopefully, it will be better in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that. No, I can totally relate to that. And in fact, like a few of my friends have been having these conversations as well about, male and female, can they really be friends? What are the line in terms of, it's a bit more than friends and you're just friends. And, where do you draw the boundary? So, I think these things are ongoing conversations, again, cross-cultural, like, different styles. I wonder, like, if I can ask you a question about that,
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
what is it exactly then is the root cause, right, of this jealousy? You mentioned insecurity. Is it because that we don't see ourselves, like we don't love ourselves enough, that we're scared of losing this person? And I know, there's concept of like attachment theory, right? Whether you're anxious or avoidant. Does that play into it as well? Because, it manifested into relationships as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm quite curious on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I do have or had an anxious attachment style. And what's beautiful is that I had to sit down with my mom and ask about it, like
Wow.
what happened when I was younger, and how were you when you were conceiving me? Because the sense of anxiety can already happen since when we are still in our mother's belly. But I'm not shifting the blame on her. It's just then there's some understanding of like, okay, there are some things that is carried on to me, and I want to understand how much is it nature or nurture. And then I believe that one of the root cause is fear of not being loved, or there is a fear of comparison, but I think there's fear of not being loved enough that there is no boundaries between the ex and another girl. I think yeah, I think, and realizing that and knowing, as I say, romantic relationships are always a place of growth, something to reflect and to learn something more. It was a place of reaction, a lot of reaction. Like, okay, now I learned to pause and respond. This is why I learned mindfulness.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah, that's the story.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking. I love being able to share this. And with these cards, I feel like already so much more connected to you than 30 minutes ago when we start recording. So thank you for creating this.
Of course, you're welcome. And I look forward to like playing this card more with you. Hopefully if we can meet in person one day and yeah, just kind of continuing this journey. I feel like we have a lot in common. We just haven't really discovered, a lot of it yet.
Oh, yes, for sure. I'll hit
Yeah.
you up when I move to Bali in a few
Yeah.
months. So that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
for people who are enjoying this podcast right now and they're curious to also want to experience the Well I Wonder cards, where can they buy them or look them up?
Yeah, sure. I think the first place to go is Instagram at things that spark underscore joy, and you can buy it through Instagram, through DM, or through Tokopedia.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
And when they do that,
Mm.
is there any message for them when they've already got it?
I think go ahead and play it right away with whoever's there with you, right? Or if there isn't anyone, use it for yourself, and use these questions to be a journal prompt, even, because I found that in the process that while we ask other people these questions, in the process we also learn about ourselves, because then we reflect as well on these questions and we'd be like, wow, that's a hard question, let me think about it for myself. And then as we hear other people's story, we can relate to them, right? In both ways, sometimes we disagree, sometimes we agree, but in the process you learn a lot about yourself as well, so it becomes a really enriching and fulfilling experience. So yeah, I'd love to hear what people think about it, if you're listening or if you're watching and you end up buying and you end up discovering something new about yourself or about others. I'd love to hear it, the way you told me, Samara, about you playing it with your family.
Amazing. We will put in the link for your Instagram for the Tokopedia and Shopee in the description. So anyone who is listening can just scroll down and have a look and click away. And if they end up not buying yet, what is one thing that people can do when they're listening right now to improve their quality of life in the next 5 minutes? So any action challenge that you want to give out to us?
Sure. I think I will give you my favorite question, which is part of the card as well, which actually inspired me to create this card, which is, when was the last time you did something for the first time? So let's repeat and sink that in again, right? When was the last time you did something for the first time? And I invite you to reflect on that and take action from it. And I say this because this question is supposed to make you think and immediately answer, oh yeah, last week, or oh, last month I did this. And if that doesn't happen, I think that means that's time for you to try something new or discover something new as well. And I share this because, as a person, I feel like if we're not happy and we're not whole and we're in a place professionally and personally where we have to care for others, love others, manage others, right? And if we're not whole, we won't be able to do that to others. And how do we become whole is when we, make sure that our cup is full. And we do that by doing whatever is enriching and fulfilling to us. So yeah, I invite you to ask that for yourself. And I'd love your answer too, Sam. I think for me, it's like, really trying new things like, surfing, diving, riding a motorbike, right? Or through simple daily activities like doing dance class for the first time or trying like a particular activity. And I feel like this helps a lot. And yeah, I hope people can answer this in, hopefully.
Yes. Thank you for that question. And just a quick answer for that. I just started doing this future self journal and human design journal for myself.
Okay.
I love that because journaling, you can do many ways with it, right? It can be a brain dump of like just what you're thinking, what you're anxious of, but it can also help you create your future because you are your thought, you are how you manifest things is also dependent on your thoughts and emotions and your actions, and aligning that has helped me create a very energizing and centered morning where okay, this is who I want to be today, this is what I want to embody, this is my healing process today, and it's just a very different vibration with just writing down all your anxiousness and worry. So I have that in a separate journal, and I started doing that a couple of days ago, and I really noticed the difference of focus and intention and purpose, and in each things that I do, especially like with our call today. I did that. I looked down like, oh, I'm so excited to be meeting someone who lights me up. So thank you so
Oh,
much
thank you
for,
so much.
your
That's
time and your presence, Wina.
No, thank you so much, Sam, for giving this platform, for mindfulness practice that varies, right? And I think maybe if I could reflect, I feel like the whole COVID situation and the work from home situation really forces us to look inside because we can't look outside, right? And I think in that process, I hope that like together we can help each other and like empower, inspire, and I guess motivate each other to be a better version of ourselves. So I'm so thankful to have met you and to have had this conversation with you. And yeah, I look forward to more conversation and discoveries about each other.
Oh, thank you. I send you my
Yeah.
virtual hug. Cry.
Oh,
Virtual hug. Thank you so
yeah.
much, Wina.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, everyone who has been listening. I hope when you heard the questions, you wrote it down. You can have it as a journaling prompt. And this video is on YouTube. It's on my podcast, and so leave a comment, share it with the people that you love, that you want to ask these questions with, and play the cards with. And yeah, I hope it has increased your quality of life and allow you to be more mindful and aware. Thank you so much. Namaste.